Welcome to the Numbers Game. I'm Jason. I'm here with Nick and Marty. How are we going today, fellas?
Going well, Jace. Yesterday was Father's Day for me, so I got inundated with Essendon paraphernalia. It was so bittersweet to be out of the finals and just get every gift with Essendon on it. Doormat, which will be handy because I'll be stomping on that. I got a cap. And I got some what's called, it's called smelly balls for the car, which is an air freshener that you put this liquid on it and you just hang it there, which makes me think the car stinks, that I got that as a gift for Father's Day. So, but it was lovely. Coastal flavours. So talk about the adventure. It was a great day. Really enjoyed it. So had a bit of fun. Nick, how are you, my friend?
Mate, I'm good. Just coming off a refreshing weekend. It's we had some sun in Melbourne over the last weekend, which was great. And if I didn't see nearly everyone in Melbourne out and about yesterday, Jason and I were just talking about this, but it's just funny how it's just turned so quick. Isn't it funny how it went from cold to all of a sudden just warm?
It's like the weather just knows that it was the spring.
It's like it knows.
Spring's in the
It's
air.
like it knows. So,
and we'll ignore the rest of the week where it goes 14 and raining again. Let's just ignore that and the ups and downs. Let's focus on the positives. It's spring and the sun is shining.
the weekend was good. So that's, who cares about the week? We head down and grind and just wait for the weekends to come, and that's when we want the good weather. How are you, Jace? Looking fresh, mate? Quiet weekend?
Mate, not quite a quiet weekend, but anytime there's blue skies and sunshine and we get out and enjoy Melbourne, I think we love it, and spring's in the air, and I think there's good times and good things about to be happening all round. But look, I probably won't revisit Marty's smelly balls that he's got dangling in his car. We'll let that one go, even though he left us wide open there, Nick. But we'll let that go, and probably won't bring up that your family are out shopping on the discount rack if all you got was Bombers gear. That the prices must have been discounted something fierce with the way all the Bombers supporters are feeling about the Bombers. So, Marty, I'm sure they love you, but there's a few suspect things going on there.
I even got a coin, a collectible. It's not worth much.
See, now I know you're loved.
Was it a particular player or?
No, it was just Essendon Football Club commemorative coin. So it'd be worth something in years to come when we win another flag, but I think it's devaluing by the season at the moment. So, but it was nice. It was nice. They obviously know I love my footy, so we had a good day.
Beautiful. Well, today, before we get into letting you know the secrets of how to live to 100 years old, which I'm excited by, if you do live to be 100, you'll probably need future advisory services, and that's who today's episode is brought to you by. So, if you need a hand with your tax, estate planning to make sure your taxes and asset protection, everything's all sorted for when you do live to 100, check out the team at futureadvisory.com.au. We'll be more than happy to look after you for the next 50 plus years and keep you going all through life. Nick, you brought to our attention a Netflix doco, which we're excited to unpack and talk about today. Why don't you give us the background and what's been going on?
I can do that. I'm just actually the name of the doco has escaped me. Is it called The Secrets of the Blue Zones or something like that, Marty?
Secrets of the Blue Zones. That is correct.
Secrets of the Blue Zones. Yeah. So well, first I'll explain what is a blue zone. And a blue zone is a non-scientific term given to geographic regions that are home to some of the world's oldest people. So places with the biggest demographic of centurions.
Chirnside Park.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even have to bring it up. But mate, they didn't get to Chirnside Park. I'm not sure why. Considering just some of the other areas they're in, Okinawa, Japan. Ikaria, Greece, Costa Rica. Don't ask me how they skipped over Chirnside Park, but they did. So anyway, I don't know. I found this really interesting, and there's a lot of stuff in there's a lot of stuff that we're about to go through, which is common sense, around diet, and general just health and wellness. But what really got me is just the way that diet and health and wellness are just part of their culture and the way they do life. Yeah. They're not dieting, and they're not trying to stay healthy, and they're not trying to stay well. It's just a way of life. I guess what I want to talk about in more detail and just get your take on it is just the spiritual side of this, and not just food and diet and exercise, but what from a spiritual sense, what is keeping these people fulfilled and giving these people a purpose. And towards the end, I'd just like to challenge the notion of retirement, and what does retirement actually mean, and do we need to draw a line in the sand and say we are now retired and we are now not contributing to a working life in any way, and we're just going to go off into the sunset? So, yeah, bit to talk about, but I might open to you guys at some stage as well, because I know you've both seen this, or Marty, you've seen, and Jace, you've read the book. What's the book called? The Japanese book?
The book is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life, which I read that and didn't know about the Blue Zones doco until recently when somebody brought it up. And I was like, oh my God, that's like this book I read, which I think was the opposite that happened to you, Nick. It was the other way around.
Yep.
Yeah, and I read...
I watched this.
I read Ikigai probably about 4 years ago now. And that it was strange you brought this up, Nick, because I was actually watching it over the weekend as well. So the timing's good. And it's the importance of a way of life that you want to continue to live well beyond retirement, and how natural a way of life there is. And the one thing I took out of it was just the connection of people and having some form of belief beyond yourself seemed to be core principles that were fascinating as well. But it was a great watch. Highly recommend.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the areas first. So the documentary singled out 5 areas where there's obviously a high population of centurions, or the oldest people. First one was Icaria, which is an island in Greece. Second one was Ogliastra. Well, I think that's how you say it, but Sardinia in Italy. Third was Okinawa. So for anyone who's seen The Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi was from Okinawa. Marty, you would remember that, Jace?
Yep.
Did you know that?
I would revisit that movie quite often, and look, the new remakes of it just weren't the same as the originals. So
we're Facebook friends, Mr. Miyagi.
Next was the Nicoya Peninsula, which is in Costa Rica, and then where they went, which I found really interesting, was suburban California, Loma Linda, which is a home to a lot of Seventh-day Adventists. So these are the 5 areas that they picked out. The main things that they came up with from a health and well-being point of view: people who live in blue zones eat a diet full of whole plant foods, and majority of their diet is whole plant foods, legumes, whole grains, vegetables, nuts, very little meat. If it was meat, generally fish.
Yep.
So that was interesting. Again, nothing groundbreaking there. It's what you would expect. What I found interesting was in Sardinia, in Italy, a lot of carbs still. So, but it's the way that they prep the carbs. So real sourdough. So a lot of breads, a lot of pastas, but not produced in the way that we produce them, which means they're a lot better for you.
Well, and that overly processed versus that like fermentation time of like 72 hours sourdough fermenting to the point where it's easily digestible compared to our mass-produced type of things in the Western world. Fasting
is a way of life. So going for periods without food. So whether that's because of a religious following, the Japanese or the Okinawans in particular have an 80% rule. They generally eat to their 80% full. So that means eating slow and slowly getting to that 80% rule and then stopping. Overall, you consume less calories, and that makes sense. I think they say that it takes 7 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. So if your brain's there, you're already over full and you're overeating. So that was one. They consume alcohol in moderation. So there was quite a lot of them did drink alcohol, particularly obviously Greece and Italy, as you'd expect, but it was red wine. It was, again, created in a way less processed, which means it's healthier for you, and maybe 1 or 2 a day.
So it's exercise, a bit different to the weekend where the sun's out and we go and hit 12 beers on a Sunday arvo or something. So I'm starting to see some things that we might be doing wrong culturally and locally around here.
Yeah. They also don't have the what do I say? What am I trying to say? They don't have the opportunities that we have to play up, Jace, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just a different way of life.
Yeah.
Exercise built into daily life. So I think it was Sardinia where and this is also the case in Greece, but the villages are so steep. So they're constantly walking. So they're walking to church, they're walking to get food, they're walking animals, they're walking to go see friends or family, and they're walking up and down steep villages. So just having exercise built into the daily, your daily routine versus, we're all sitting down now. We sat in the car to go to work, we go home, we eat dinner, we sit down, we watch TV. So we are sitting a lot, which is why this whole 10,000 steps thing has come about. And Jace, you were just talking about trying to get to 15,000. So, but for them, they're always on their feet. They're always moving. They're always doing things. So exercise being part of the daily life, not so much what we would do, sit down most of the day and then flog ourselves for 40 minutes at a average heart rate of 160 beats a minute. So very different to the way that we do things.
Well, just on that as well, I think it's the difference as well in, let's say in Okinawa with Tai Chi. So slow movements, but moving the body. And I was just going to say, in the last 5 or 6 weeks, that's been something I've worked on is hitting my step count, whether it's 10,000, 12, 15. I've been ramping it up slightly. But in 6 weeks, I've lost 3 kilos. And I haven't necessarily got just around the midsection, which is where I hold it. Don't look necessarily mind-blowingly different, but I feel healthier. And it's more, when you say building exercise into daily life, that's more around like conscious decision-making to walk the extra distance around the block to get the extra steps in. Or if I get home from work, 7, 8 p.m., instead of sitting on the couch to watch a doco, I can go down to the gym in my building and put the documentary on an iPad in front of the treadmill and just walk slowly. I'm not even bursting into a sweat, but I'm getting an extra 5,000 steps while watching a 1 or 2 hour documentary or TV show that I would have watched on the couch anyway, sitting on my butt, which is what I do all day. So it's deliberate actions to build this into daily life that has made a difference. And I'm seeing it over the last couple of weeks.
It's really interesting because prior to getting into corporate world, I used to work on an orchard, apple picking. And it was amazing as a farmhand, and it was amazing how the natural movement in that role just brought about a natural fitness. And that was very socially connected too with the workers there. You'd eat together, at lunch and morning tea. And there was a real sense of connection. And the other thing that I think, and I always remind myself of this, and it definitely resonates when I was younger, and I only felt it when I was on the Sunshine Coast again, was you would play. You'd play sports with your friends and you just had natural fitness. You didn't do it because you had to exercise. You did it because it was fun. And it was the same on the sunny coast because it was so nice all year round. You would generally be out in nature. You wouldn't walk for the sake of walking. You'd be walking because you're looking at the koala in the national park, or you'd be taking the dog somewhere, or going for a swim just for the sake of enjoying the environment. So it's very different as to the intention of why you were doing things, as opposed to, like you were saying, Nick, you sit down, you do your work all day, and then you thrash yourself for 40 minutes. So it's like, because you feel like you have to. So it's like you talk about golf. You play golf to improve and play, but the exercise you're getting out of doing that is quite remarkable. So I think that's what we can potentially lose. We don't want to lose that play element and connecting with people and siloing ourselves when we exercise as well. I think that community aspect is really, really important. That's what it reinvigorated watching it for me, definitely.
Yeah, and you talk about how quickly we lose it. What I found really interesting was just looking at these people that were 90 and mid-90s and late 80s, just walking around, preparing meals, completely unassisted. And I just think about here, if someone's in their 90s, they're generally pretty frail, being helped around. And I know there is outlying cases where people are still walking around at 90 in this country as well, but these people just look like they're in their early 70s or late
Definitely.
60s, and they're 90 years old, walking around the kitchen and getting things prepared. So it's that to me just says you just keep doing that. The minute you stop doing that is when you start to lose it. Next one, another obvious one was sleep. Talked about getting minimum 7 hours, and on top of that, talked about siestas or napping as well. So 30 minutes in the afternoon is fine. They did say that any longer than that can cause some issues if you want to go down the scientific rabbit hole. But from a headline, 7 hours is what they suggest most of these people would get. So that's most of the stuff we all know about: diet, sleep, exercise. This is what I wanted to really get into a bit deeper and I guess get your thoughts on this. So other traits associated with longevity. So being religious or spiritual. Blue zones are typically religious communities. Studies show that being religious is associated with a lower risk of death due to social support and reduced rates of depression. So I think we get a little bit tied up when we think about religion with God and praying. I think on a deeper level, religion's about connectivity, and it's about having a group of people that support each other, that believe in a certain thing. Now, what you believe in doesn't matter, but it's that sense of belonging to something. I think is really powerful, and that could even go as far as sporting clubs or whatnot. So I found that one really interesting, and I've also listening to a Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and he was talking about this, that we need to park God or Allah or Buddha. Just don't think about that so much when you think about religion. Just think about what it actually does as a group of people with a belief in a higher being, whatever that might be. So I found that really interesting.
Yep.
Any comments before we move on?
I just think on that, you're right. You've got to take the context out and looking at the function of it. And again, imagine the release of stress and anxiety in being able to give a problem away to a higher source. Just that alone, forgetting about what the name of it is, but just having some form of belief that you can give away a problem or a stress and feel like you can give that over. I mean, that's enormous. And then, like you said, a place of belonging. Everyone wants to feel like they belong and they want to connect. So again, and look, I know really, I'm not, I was brought up a Catholic, but I'm not religious in myself. But I know a lot of religious people, and they generally, and I hope I'm not being too general, but they have this sense of being happier. Like there's something about it where they have this real sense of they're okay. They have a more optimistic demeanor. And that's very general. I know that's not the case for everyone, but I go, there is something. And for me, like I look at it personally and I go, I believe there's something, I believe there's something outside of myself, but I don't want to be ignorant enough to know what that is. I just want to let go and let that be decided. But it's again, I think there's definitely a sense of relief in it that people carry, that they can hand over those problems. So maybe there's something in that.
For sure. And continuing on the connectivity path, but older and younger people living together. So I think it was Sardinia where no nursing homes. There's no such thing.
Wow.
The younger people in the family look after the older people, and they live together, and they come and check on them. They come and help them prepare food. So there's a lot of connectivity with family as well. I think the stat the guy who did the doco brought up, I can't remember if it was 3 years or 6 years, but there's science that suggests that the minute you move into a retirement home or a nursing home, you lose 3 years off your life. I'm pretty sure it was 6 years off your life.
Yeah, wow.
Again, it's that line in the sand that says, okay, this is me now. This is the next stage. So it's trying to stop that happening. But I found that really interesting, and it just made me think about, geez, if you were old and you got put in a retirement home or a nursing home, how bad must that be? And I know most people don't want to go into nursing homes, but people get put in there anyway. But just the mindset you must go through to have to go to a place like that versus having your family around you to help you.
That probably ties back into a sense of purpose as well, though. So if you're living with your family and able to take a role in continuing to help the family, fold some washing, help prep meals, like all that kind of thing, like beyond the religious and spiritual side. And, one of the biggest parts of that is to have a life purpose or to have purpose. And I think a lot of the time, this is probably where, you wanted to bring in the idea of challenging retirement. And my dad retired a few years ago. He was looking after mum before she passed, and that was something that gave him purpose, which was looking after mum. But after mum passed, he didn't go back to work. He said, "No, I'm retired," which is all good and power to him. But I just think of it from at 64 years old, he's fit, able-bodied, got a good mind on his shoulders, but having that purpose to go and do something, I just think creates something to have something. Yep. It's hard to put into words, but a lot of that comes back to what is your life purpose, and what can you do to add value and meaning to life around. Work is one thing, but then I guess for people who go to live in retirement homes, it's almost like you're going there. Well, it sounds bad, but you're going there to die. That's the end of your life, to be cared for by someone else, as opposed to if you live with your family and have again that connectivity. And a sense of purpose that you can help them. You can help your family while you're there and while you're able-bodied.
There's such power in that. We have our nephew, Kai, lives with my dad. My dad's 83 years of age, and he's dying basically of heart failure. And we've been lucky to have him for an extra year. But Kai's been living with him, and my sister looks upon him. We go up there and help a lot. But he loves that Kai's there, and he feels that sense of purpose. And at some stage over the last 20 years, since he's been on his own, all the family have been through the house in one way or another. And it's really invigorating. And he actually, at the dinner table, basically thanked us all for being such an important part of his life. And like I said, we don't know how long he's got, but he goes, while I'm sitting here with my grandkids and being around family, he goes, I've got all the reasons to live. And I think that's why I've lasted this long. And it's like, it's so powerful. If we were to put him in a home, he'd be gone tomorrow, right? But he wants to see Charlie. He's collecting coins for Charlie. He's sharing wisdom with Kai. Kai's sharing wisdom from him. He's coming, he comes home late and Dad has a word to him. I mean, it's brilliant stuff. And he's still out in the backyard and doing things. So I think there's something about that gets lost. If you put someone into, aged care, it's just, it just feels a bit anti-intuitive, really. Maybe it's just culturally, but
I think as bad as it sounds, I think you nailed it, Jace. I think that's where we go to die. That's the last chapter, right? So
definitely,
it's having visited my nana there before she passed. Like, it wasn't a fun or nice place to go, and it was actually miserable. Like, really, really sad to see. Nick, I've read the book version of this, the Ikigai thing, but it talks about 100 to 115, 117-year-old, 110-year-old. These people are able-bodied. They're up and about. One of the things of purpose for them is having even a veggie garden. So they're up in the morning, they're drinking their green tea, they're eating fish, they're moving and keeping active. But part of the purpose is go and tend to the veggie garden and then pick some of the vegetables and walk over to a neighbor's house and share vegetables with your neighbor who's part of your community. And then I go, look at the nursing homes that the people end up in here, and just go, they're cooped up in a room. It's dark and depressing. They're not moving or getting out of bed or doing, it's depressing, bad, and a place where people go to die.
So quickly, one more before we go a bit deeper on the purpose, but a healthy social network. So all that was referring to is your network affecting your health. So, you've got obese friends, then it becomes socially acceptable to be obese, hypothetically. If you're in a network that drinks and smokes a lot, then that becomes socially acceptable. So I think they all work in the similar circles, so they're doing similar things. So then the last one, which is, we've just kind of unpacked it, but was having a life purpose. People in blue zones tend to have a life purpose known as Ikigai in Okinawa, or Plan de Vida in Nicoya. This is associated with reduced risks of death, through psychological well-being. I think on the doco they had the guy in Costa Rica who was like 100 years old, and they had him riding on his horse. Still gets up at 5:30 in the morning, works a full day because that's his purpose. He's never stopped. And he looked, I don't know, you've seen it, Marty. I reckon he looked like he was in his 70s. He was 100 and something years old.
I would say men are like shepherds, right? They get up, they attend to the animals, and it's there's a whole ecosystem of where their value is in their way of living. It's pretty connected.
Yeah, so I guess it got me thinking, particularly that guy, because that was Costa Rica, where they just continue to work. I've always been of the opinion that I don't think I'll ever retire. I don't think I'll ever stop doing something. I don't really see the point unless you don't like what you're doing, in my opinion. If you don't like what you're doing, then you stop and you find something else. So it got me thinking that, okay, well, why do we have to retire? Why can't we have other things? And I get that it's not easy, depending on what your role and your skill set is. It's not easy just to do something till you're 100 years old. I totally understand that. But Jace, to your point, if retirement doesn't have to be you stopping earning income, it can be, as you've just said, well, what is your purpose? Maybe you build yourself a purpose outside of the normal day job that was earning you money. Maybe it's, you buy property somewhere and you plant things, or just find something that you can do.
Or even volunteering, right? Like, there's such a shortage of volunteers that can help with, whether it's, the RSPCA or the Lost Dogs Home. Like, they need people to come in, help look after some animals that haven't been adopted yet, and they don't have the funding to necessarily pay people. Now I go, look, I'll think about Case as an example. If Case and I grow old together, touch wood, fingers crossed we do, and I'm looking forward to a long, healthy, happy life if all goes well. But if in retirement, Casey decides that a couple of days a week she's going to go and help look after cats at the Lost Dogs Home because she loves cats, she's a crazy cat lady, fuck, by all means, she'll bounce out of bed and be down there looking after cats because that will give a sense of purpose and something that she loves doing. So again, a purpose and doing something you enjoy that has meaning and adds value to it. So yeah, as opposed to also, if I'm still doing tax returns when I'm 70, then so be it. If, I'll bring it on. But I love what I do.
I just think it's, you can find that purpose, whether it's working or not working. You talked about the veggie garden, but why do we have to go through these stages, I guess, is the underlying question. Why do we have to go through, the stage of retirement, the stage of, going into a retirement home or a nursing home? Like, why can't it just continue on as it is, and whatever happens around you happens as it needs to happen? But I think these milestones and these stages, you're kind of ticking off and getting closer and closer to the end when you think about it. And I just got the underlying feeling that wasn't the case with any of these communities, these blue zones. It was all just, life just continued to roll on, whether you're working or not working or had kids or didn't have kids, were 80, 90, 100 or 60. So I think for me, it's definitely made me think a little bit harder about, what does life look like in 20 or 30 years? And it doesn't have to be retirement and sunshine and beaches. You can have that, but what are the other things that you want to do to keep you busy and to keep your mind and your body busy and healthy?
And I think, Nick, and I've said this in previous podcasts, it's about enjoying your existence like today. And I've said it before where, it's not the finance, it's about, supporting the advancement of people around me. I get a real thrill out of that, or supporting a client to move ahead in life. But there's a deeper meaning, because I feel like if it was the other way around, I wouldn't have that depth of enjoyment, even though I like that as well. But it's working out what that is with you. I think people get so distracted on various different things that they never ask themselves that questions. How am I enjoying my day, and how am I going to continue to enjoy that day into being, 70, 80, 90? And that will only present at that time. I'm sure it'll be a different potential set of parameters, but you certainly need that purpose. And I think life will present that to you. I think it's not something you have to be stressed about, but I agree. I don't think we ever have to retire. We're always going to be of service. That's what we're here for. And I think as soon as that gets closed down, then that's the time that you're leaving the planet, right? So it's, I even loved, there was a group that there was a group of elderly people that got together, and when one of them was sick, they'd all help financially. And I said, don't worry about it, just get better.
Yeah.
Let's support the person financially. We'll get all our means together to make sure that person's okay. Think about the stress relief.
I think that was the Seventh-day Adventists that did that. They all contributed on a weekly basis to a fund.
Contributed.
And that fund used to pay for the religious things they did, the get-togethers, but also if someone was in need, they could, they could get financial support, which was awesome because, to your point, the stress is gone. And, as long as people aren't taking the piss, for lack of a better word, and always putting their hand up, which I'm sure they don't because of the type of people that they are. But yeah, you're just that financial stress is gone because you've got people around you supporting you. So yeah, that's a good one.
There's a lot to that.
That was that community thing too. Well, I think, guys, I'm going to put the Secrets of the Blue Zones on my to-watch list. And if you haven't read the Ikigai book, which is the Japanese secret to a long and happy life, definitely add that to your list as well. And I mean, as you said, Nick, most of those strategies aren't something mind-blowing that we've never heard before, but it's actually just building into your day-to-day life. I think, too often we do fad diets, we go hard on exercise, and then we have a break from alcohol, then we go all in. Like, it's all about having a purposeful, meaningful life and enjoying all of it, and not having a retirement date and the structure around needing to retire and do that. So I think it's definitely thrown the challenge or the thought provoking out to our audience to have a think about, how we are living our lives and how we can implement some of these things to make sure we are going to have long, happy lives. And, let's push on and live to 100 and really get the most out of this one life we're given here on earth.
And you can design it. That's the thing. People are told from a very young age what they should do, what they need to do in order to be accepted into the clan, so to speak. But again, design it. It's you got the pencil, colour in.
Got the pencil, colour in.
Have a crack. See what you come up with.
Thank you for listening. And if you do watch the show or read the book, feel free to send us in your thoughts to hello@thenumbersgame.com.au or connect with Nick, Marty and myself on LinkedIn, Instagram, or wherever you do your socialing. Until next time.
Be a part of our tribe. Game on.